Welcome to Celebrity Interviews with Paul. I have with me today Polly Dawkins. Polly is the Executive Director of the Davis Phinney Foundation that helps to work with people with Parkinson's to have full and meaningful and significant lives and live in the midst of that disease. I met Polly at the Sufferlandrian National Team Training Camp in Egel, Switzerland. I remember Polly as being only slightly more terrified than I was on the velodrome. And I couldn't move my hands from the top of the bars, even though that crazy French lady kept yelling at me. And I also remember that Polly, who is going to share her superpower in a second, climbs mountains like nobody's business, tough as nails. What is your superpower, Polly?
Oh, well, Paul, thank you. And thanks for having me here to chat with you about my work and some of my passions. You know, when you're given a superpower, you don't get to choose. It's just one of those things you have. And,
Yeah.
you know, I think if I had chosen a superpower, it would be perhaps the ability to speak all languages.
That would be a good one.
Something more interesting than the one I've been given.
Okay.
But my superpower is I can talk nonstop while climbing really steep mountains and carry on full conversations and distract people.
I don't know if that's so distracting or annoying. It probably goes both ways.
Most people who climb with me find it okay because it passes the time.
I remember running a race in college, and it was a 15-miler, and we were supposed to not run it full out. It was supposed to be like a long kind of tempo run. And we're cruising along, the two of us are cruising along at 8 or 9 miles into the race, and we're moving at a good clip because we're college. I ran competitively in college for Division III cross country. So we're fast, but we're not pushing ourselves because we're not supposed to. And this guy turned to us at one point in the race and said, either shut up or pick it up. We were just chattering.
Yeah, I do pass a fair number of people climbing, and oftentimes people will say, how are you talking? You guys are talking while you're passing me. I'm like, well,
yeah, that's an amazing superpower.
It's not really useful, but it's,
well, it's a gift. It's not chosen, right?
Exactly.
It's just entrusted to us.
I'm looking to explore what the other ones might be. I'm hopeful they reveal themselves eventually.
Well, how is life in the pandemic in Boulder for you?
You know, for me personally, things are really good.
Yeah.
And that's surprising. I wouldn't say I'm thriving, but I'm doing really well. I think this opportunity to slow down and stop traveling. My travel pace was pretty unsustainable for years and years. And you sort of forget why you are so tired and why you don't have any capacity to do the work that you should be doing, the thinking part of your job.
Right.
And when that sort of slows down and you can actually get back into the work and the thinking and the strategy and ideas, and it all of a sudden starts feeling like the fog is lifting.
Yeah. That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. And then also my kiddo, my youngest, I have 2 children. My youngest came home from college in the midst of all of this and stayed with us for 6 months.
Oh,
and
wow.
to have an adult kid come home and be a part of this hunkering down together was really kind of a beautiful thing to have that relationship with your kid and have more than a couple people at the house that you could hang with.
Sure, that helps too.
Yeah.
It gets you can get lonely.
Yeah, and another thing that these last 7 months have allowed me, as well as slowing down, is Davis, who is the founder of the Davis Phinney Foundation, suggested to me probably in May. He said, let's go on a ride. Let's make a weekly practice of riding together.
Okay.
And I'm not very good about stepping away from work. And it's taken me this long to look at those weekly rides that we do as not frivolous.
Right.
But to look at them as opportunities to connect with the visionary, the founder of the organization. I sit in the seat of the executive director or the integrator of our business.
Okay.
And the fact that he and I can talk uninterrupted. And with Parkinson's, some of you know, I don't know, Paul, if you know, but Parkinson's, not only does it slow down your physical movement, your cognition changes, and it's not that you lose your ability to think, you just process more slowly. So to be on a bike and Davis and I will sometimes go on 4-hour rides together, which is really tremendous, and climb some big hills together.
Yeah.
You have that time to process, to think, and it could be 10 minutes after we've had a little conversation about a topic that Davis will say, and reflecting on what you've just said, and be able to really have good conversations about where the business is going, how we're doing what we're meant to be doing, has been really tremendous.
Well, and the thing about a bike ride is that if you're just sitting down with somebody, and we're having coffee or whatever, a 10-minute pause in the conversation is kind of awkward. And we start looking at our watches and wondering where we have to be. But on a bike ride, it's natural that conversation happens like that. Just even with people without Parkinson's, conversations, because of roads and traffic and what's going on, you do have that kind of natural thing. So that's sort of, it makes it even more normal.
Yeah, and it's quiet. I think one of the things that I've learned is that a Parkinson's brain can be quite busy and cluttered and hard to process things. And so being out in the quiet of the mountains of Colorado and allowing for space to think, excuse me, I think
that's probably a lesson for us all.
I think it's been good for me.
Yeah. So how did you move into the nonprofit world from what you had been doing? Why'd you end up there?
I spent probably the first 20 years of my career. I know I don't look that old, but I am. I was in the for-profit sector, and I went to business school, and I worked after business school. I worked for a company in just corporate America, and my background is international business, and so I was sort of at the height of my career doing really not interesting. I was doing a lot of different things, and it felt like it was grad school on steroids for a lot of years, and but it just wasn't fulfilling. And I thought back to what my values are and who I am as a human being, and I thought this isn't what I'm meant to do. I'm not put here in this world to create profit for essentially this for a man, the guy who ran the company, make some people really, really rich. And the product, I was working in satellite television. So delivering content to people's homes. At the time, satellite television was new, was different. We were launching. It was super exciting, but it was a new way to get digital technology into your home. There was internet was just emerging, and and I was like, I don't even own a television. I don't care about what I'm doing. And why am I spending my career, my life doing this? And I had middle school aged children at the time, or even actually late elementary school aged kids. And I just thought, I want them to be proud of, if I'm going to not be present in their lives because I'm working, I'd rather have them be proud of me and proud of what I'm doing. And I also would like to be more fulfilled. So I stepped off that track. It took a lot of courage.
Yeah, I mean, most people they might all say that, but then they just stay. Homeostasis is such a force. So how'd you find the Davis Phinney Foundation?
Well, I took a couple of years off, and some of that was to detox. Yeah, because it was a pretty rough culture to be a part of. And I had the flexibility. I could take a couple of years off, and I learned to ride a bike. And I learned to ride, and I became kind of an avid cyclist here in Boulder,
Mm-hmm.
and not very good, but just did a lot of it. And
Sure.
so I think, and I was also learning to work on nonprofit boards, get involved in fundraising and volunteerism, the things I knew that I needed to shift my career to a for-purpose or profit sector, because I knew those gaps existed. I'd never been on a board. I knew the positions I was going to target were going to need to report into a board of directors.
Sure.
I understand what this means. So it was honestly, I took 4 years away and sort of reimagined, volunteer, all sorts of different things to learn this business. And then I decided, well, it's, actually my husband came to me and he said, Paul, I think you need to go back to work. I was like, what do you mean? It's like, I don't think he never would have said this, but I think he was intimating, you're a lot. You need to be put to use somewhere really specific because you're driving us all crazy. He would never have said that, but I wonder.
Sure.
Yeah. And so I launched my search, and a friend, because she knew I liked cycling, she saw the post, and you wouldn't believe it, Paul. The post for this position, this was a tiny little organization, was on Craigslist.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And she saw the post on Craigslist, and she sent me a message. She was a board member that I was on a board with. And she said, Polly, I found your dream job. And I was like, what? I didn't know who Davis Phinney was.
Yeah.
I didn't know Parkinson's. But somehow she thought, because Davis was a cyclist, I might. And it was pretty interesting that she couldn't have known.
Yeah.
Did know. And that was 10 years ago. And
beautiful.
It took a long time for the process. And I looked at many other jobs at the time.
Yeah.
And when the board finally made the decision to make me the offer, I was ready to join. And I've learned so much. And I can't imagine working in a different community now. The Parkinson's community is amazing.
So the Davis Phinney Foundation is founded by Davis Phinney, retired professional cyclist, Tour de France stage winner.
Yeah, multiple stage winner.
Olympian, married to Connie Carpenter, who is also an Olympic gold medalist and Olympian.
And she's also the youngest female Winter Olympian.
Right. Yeah, I saw like 14 years old or something. And Davis developed Parkinson's in retirement, and then since has founded the Davis Phinney Foundation, where the motto is "Every victory counts."
Yes.
And the purpose of the foundation is to provide resources for people with Parkinson's.
Yeah, I mean, our mission, the thing that we get up every day to do, is to help people with Parkinson's live well today.
Right.
So Davis was diagnosed. He was 40 years old. So he wasn't actually retired. He had retired from professional cycling. He was a news broadcaster, a sports broadcaster at the time.
I've watched the end of Blender more than once.
Okay, so you know
that. I know that backstory.
And it wasn't 4 years later that somebody approached him and said, "Hey, I want to start a nonprofit because I want to fundraise and I want to give it to a nonprofit that focuses on Parkinson's. Can I put your name on it?" And that was really the beginning of the Davis Phinney Foundation.
Okay.
And Davis's experiences, as he's related them to me, were that, at the time, and it's still true, a Parkinson's diagnosis did not come with, here are all the things you can do to feel better. A Parkinson's diagnosis came with, here are some meds, take these. We hope that they'll probably make you feel better. Get your affairs in order, quiet down, slow down, make your life a little bit less complicated. And that was
don't
it.
Go on 4-hour bike rides in the Colorado mountains?
No, they were back in 2000. And even today, some movement disorder or some neurologists, community neurologists or primary care docs don't really understand that movement exercise is really good. Really good.
So So the Davis Phinney Foundation has said, we're going to let other people raise money to cure Parkinson's or find medications and all that kind of stuff. Our focus is going to be on people who have the disease and helping them thrive right here, right now.
Exactly.
Which is, and I think it's beautiful, the idea that you don't have to be all things to all people, that you know your mission and you focus on that, and you provide those resources. And so you do that through websites, you do educational events. We were talking before we started recording that you had an educational event scheduled in Louisiana and another in, of all places, Troy, Michigan, both of which had to go virtual because of the pandemic.
One this weekend in Boise.
Okay.
So
what how has that changed your life at work? How has it changed the work of the foundation? How has it changed things moving forward for you guys?
It's been transformational for us. It's allowed us to be more forward thinking than we anticipated.
Okay.
I think when you get known for doing work and that work is sponsorable and it's beloved in the community, you keep doing it. And part of our work was these in-person mega events.
Okay.
And we had a hard time stopping doing that work because, as I said, it was so well loved.
Sure.
But a lot of resources went into doing that, time, money, and you could reach 1,000 people if we broadcast them a few more, but for one day. And that's not and we couldn't even track the behavioral change of somebody who showed up at one of our events to say, this is actually making a difference. But it was just, you do them because people love them. And we're growing our other work as well. But this time has allowed us to say, pause, you can't do this anymore. Right. How are we going to reimagine the future of the Davis Phinney Foundation if we don't do in-person events? Or if we do them differently?
Right.
And this has allowed us to grow our body of work. We are producing about 3 major pieces of work a week now, whether they're blog, video, webinar, content, everything that, even like last week we had a renowned Yale professor who runs the podcast, The Happiness Lab. We interviewed her on happiness and Parkinson's. And I mean, such different kinds of work. And it's now, instead of sporadic, we'll do a little bit here, a little bit here. It's on a consistent pace. We've also launched into really conversations around health equity.
Okay.
And we've been curious for years about when we are actually meeting with our community in person, why everybody looks the same.
Ah, okay, sure.
And Parkinson's does not discriminate.
Right.
Parkinson's affects everybody. Few more men than women, but not markedly.
Right.
It does not choose races or socioeconomic levels. And we have been seeing for years a certain demographic of people attracted to our work or accessing our work. So we started asking ourselves, why is that? And that is not normal.
Yeah.
And not just the Davis Phinney Foundation, that's Parkinson's in general, all of the organizations.
Right.
We started this deep thinking into health equity and what does it mean to receive a Parkinson's diagnosis? And where are people getting trusted information? Right. Paul, it might be at your church. It might be,
I hope so.
You might be receiving health literacy, health education in your barbershop or in church or at your laundromat. Right. And it's not at a medical center or an academic center or your doctor's office. So those are the things that we're toying with now, and we're just starting to get that work. Well,
and then how do you move that really becomes a justice piece, right? And so how do you do that kind of justice work to give the resources that this excellent body of work that you have and all these wonderful resources, how do you get that to those underserved populations? Because that's you know, that means that broadens your mission in really important and significant ways. And how do you make those connections?
How do we adapt our work so that it feels more inclusive, and that people can feel like they belong in our work? And
well,
so
you know, probably help if not every picture has just white people in it.
And that's how Parkinson's is taught in medical school, is a stooped over, old, shuffling white man. Those are all of the images you see.
Sure.
And so, you know, you don't see a vibrant young 30-year-old woman. You don't see many people of color who are portrayed in just even in literature, even in work, to say, oh, that actually could be me.
Sure.
Actually, I'm 30 and I'm raising kids at home. I could have Parkinson's. And so that is the social justice part of our work, and that brings a lot of meaning.
It's amazing to me how as we become more aware in our culture and we pay more attention to things like that, how that every aspect of our life is touching on those on those areas, from your work with Parkinson's to my work at the church to everything, you know, to going out and going for a bike ride, and who can do that, or going for a run or whatever, you know, all those different things, and it's kind of a beautiful thing that our eyes are a little bit more open to that, and we're starting to be more attentive and more aware, and trying to make a world a better place for all people.
Exactly.
Which is ultimately the goal.
As we've said, you know, our mission, help people with Parkinson's live well today, it does not use an adjective to describe that person with Parkinson's.
Sure.
It's all people with Parkinson's.
Well, Polly, I always ask people at the end, where do you find joy?
Oh my goodness, in my work. I love what I do. It gets me out of bed every single morning. And the second area I find joy is outdoors, being outside in nature, on my bicycle, experiencing just the beauty of what we have around us.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Polly. Thank you, Polly Dawkins, Executive Director of the Davis Phinney Foundation. And you may well hear more about the Davis Phinney Foundation in the days and weeks to come. So thank you for being part of Celebrity Interviews with Paul.
Bye, Paul.